almost exactly 4 years ago that Donald Trump was there being inaugurated. And you could see the look on people's faces because of the language that he was using. There was one phrase he used. He said, "American carnage stops right here." Well, we've come full circle.
Right, because Donald Trump is the arsonist who tried to set fire not just to the Democrats, not just to Joe Biden, but to the Republican Party and indeed the U.S. system. Let's cut to the chase in terms of what happened yesterday. This was an attempted coup. It was not an attempted coup, as we see in other countries, backed by the military or backed by U.S. agencies whom Trump despises. It wasn't backed by millions of people on the streets. There were only a few thousand in Washington. But those few thousand were whipped up by Donald Trump. They've been whipped up for months by the disinformation, the lies about the election. And they were whipped up yesterday by Trump talking about the fact that they had to go to the Capitol to stop Joe Biden being confirmed as president. They were whipped up by Rudy Giuliani, Trump's attorney, who spoke of trial by combat. And they went down and they heeded that call. The courts would not overturn the election. State legislatures would not overturn this election. In the end, Congress would not overturn the election. Yesterday, Donald Trump criticized Vice President Mike Pence for not intervening to overturn the election. This was his last play. What you've heard in that statement from Donald Trump right now closes off Act One of this attempted coup, in that that is as close to a concession to a President Biden as you're going to get. But remember where Act Two is. 6 U.S. Republican senators, more than half of the U.S. Republican representatives, 122, even after the violence yesterday and after their Capitol was stormed, sided with Donald Trump in refusing to accept President-elect Joe Biden. Where do those Republican members of Congress go now? Do they finally say enough is enough, or do they stand with what is an ongoing threat, even now, to the American system?
I was going to ask you exactly that question. What is their strategy? Those Republicans, both in the House and the Senate, who had raised objections to results from certain states. What was the thinking? What's the motivation? Is it about their immediate future and what happens the next time they come up for re-election? I need to tap into MAGA, or I need to make something on the basis of MAGA?
Remember that in terms of the lower house of representatives, they stand for election every 2 years rather than 6, which is the case in the Senate. So they'll be back on the campaign trail later this year to get back into Washington. And having helped create this Frankenstein's monster of Trump, they're left with the fact that that monster still has a lot of supporters who will follow him carrying torches. They want to tap into those votes. And when you get to the Senate, of those 6 senators that backed Trump yesterday, backed the disinformation, backed the lies, accepted the violence effectively, 2 of them, Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, want to run for president in 2024. So it's their power politics, in effect, being not that they're going to lead the Republican Party, which is now split, but that they're going to lead the Trumpists who are inside it.
The beast that is the Trump family and that is the Trump presidency, and the way it feeds those people we are seeing pictures of storming the Capitol and entering the building. What is the relationship there? Have the Trump family incited them to the point that they came to engage in this violence through all of those interviews and tweets? And I mean, there was even a moment while it was happening that Ivanka Trump called them American patriots, and then she deleted the tweet. And Eric Trump, one of the sons, Donald Trump Jr., giving interviews before the gathering on the 6th of January on Wednesday. What is the relationship like between them, and who are those people? Are they completely disenfranchised? Have they seen something in their president that has delivered the promises he said he was going to deliver on 4 years ago?
That's a great question. Let's take it quickly in 3 parts. First, Donald Trump, at the end of the day, was a friends and family presidency. Economic profit, profit in terms of PR, possibly political futures. So yes, Ivanka, Don Jr., Eric, Rudy Giuliani as Trump's attorney, all part of the idea of blame China, blame immigrants, blame liberals, blame Antifa, and eventually blame the U.S. system. Secondly, what about people who are Trump supporters? Like my relatives, some of my relatives in Georgia. Where do they go now? Big point. Remember, what you saw yesterday were only a few hundred people trying to get on television with this invasion of the Capitol. There were 74 million who voted for Donald Trump, and I want to think that the vast majority of them no longer side with what we have seen. But third point, what matters here is adults in the room, competence, responsibility. On January 20th, it's not just Joe Biden, but a Biden administration. It's state and local governments. Can you control the coronavirus pandemic? Can you help rebuild the economy? Can you deal with immigration? Can you deal with climate change? You know what? As much as Donald Trump has talked the talk all the way to this attempted coup, it's time to walk the walk. And if the Biden administration can do that, I think even in a divided America, we can see hope in 2021.
Scott, thank you very much, as always. Scott Lucas, Professor of International Politics at the University of Birmingham.